What's going on, guys? Today we had the Fed and the conference. That's what we were waiting for. We had a little bit of action in the S&P 500, the Qs. Actually, we had a little bit of market rotation. We'll kind of go over that here in today's video. Okay, first things first, what we're looking at is the S&P 500. And I know it kind of feels like today a lot happened, but to be honest with you, not a lot really happened today. We went up, we came back down. We had a little bit of a morning, some action in the morning. But what we're looking at here is a daily chart, and it is in an uptrend. We've been talking about this for a while now. And in the last video, I talked about how each rally that we get, I'm gonna be selling into that strength if I can. And the reason why is I'm still believing that this is a bear flag on the daily chart until we get back above the price level of 342.50. Let's go to a lower time frame now so we can kind of see the action on a lower time frame. And let's zoom in here, see what's going on, and let's kind of plan out, well, do this here. Let's kind of plan out the next couple days, possibly even just tomorrow. We do have more numbers coming out. I believe it's unemployment numbers coming this week, so we have to keep an eye out for that. A pretty bearish close, I have to say. But technically speaking, not a lot has changed. And what I'm going to do is I don't know if you can see it on the screen here. I'm going to pull this trend line down here. Not a lot has really changed. We could still be coming to back test this trend line, although we did back test this trend line yesterday, so I wouldn't hold a lot of weight in that price level holding. However, if I pull a support level coming across the screen right here, and I'll give you a price on that, the price level on that support is roughly 337.50, around that price area. And then below that, if we do keep falling down here to the downside, below that we have a price level. We could say it's around this area here. And then, of course, we have some down here. I don't mean to put 75 lines on the screen, but we never know. We just want all possibilities. This purple line coming up the screen, coming up at an angle here, the purple line is the March lows. So we definitely don't want to get below that level. And now, as far as price levels go, so this first one, like we said, 337.50. Below that, we have 334.70 roughly, and then below that price level we have 332.40. So the only thing is with the 332.40, if I follow my cursor if you can, as I'm pulling over here to the right, you see we would at that point we would be getting below the March low trend line. Now, it's not everything. It's possible that we get below that trend line and then we rally back above it. That's absolutely possible. Another thing to also consider is we don't know what Asia is going to do with these, with the press conference that we had today. We don't know what Asia is going to do. We don't know what Europe is going to do. They could just as easily overnight in the futures rally this thing right back up here. And if they do rally it back up here, and let's say tomorrow we wake up to a gap up in the morning, we do have some resistance up here at 344.96. We could call that 345 just to make it simple. 345. And we also have resistance up here at 347.85. Jot those numbers down. And that's kind of where I'm seeing it right now. If we gap up here and we don't, if we gap up and we don't sell off and it gets faded, if we gap and go, those are numbers that we'd be looking at to the upside. I'm still skeptical on this being bullish. The last couple of days I was leaning more towards that way, especially since we broke through this trend line here. There are possibilities. If we did break out today, and let's say a lot of traders thought that this was a breakout, and then we had a failed breakout is more bearish than had price just stayed underneath that resistant level. So if that was a breakout and we failed, I would expect much lower prices. But if not, it's always possible to chop around here. So I know that's not all the answers you might be looking for. Nobody really knows what the market is going to do. It's all about probabilities and what we see in our best technical judgment on the market. And let's go ahead and go over to the Qs, since we did see a sector rotation coming out of the Qs, and we've kind of said before the Qs are on timeout, and I have to put that back in perspective again. I still believe at this point the Qs are on timeout. And the reason why is there was relative weakness in the Qs. You see we started coming down here and getting below yesterday's closing print, even though we gapped above it and we've been trading sideways. Actually, I believe that's the day before. Yeah, that's Tuesday, Monday. So Monday's closing print. So those are all something, keep an eye on that. It's about the same figures. The only difference is we saw the Qs, the tech space, we saw that lead the market to the upside since the March lows. And yes, we could burn a little bit of time and energy out of the Qs to rotate into things like, I noticed today the transports are up, the IWM was up, the financials were up. So when I see this kind of sector rotation, even though the Fed spoke today, it didn't really impact a lot of the other markets, even though it should have based on how much we lost out of the S&P 500 and the Qs. Now, some of the names we like to follow, I'm going to go into two different names because I know people are trading these. I closed a short position in Apple today. We entered short yesterday. Anyway, in any event, let me do this just so we can kind of get some figures on the screen. So visualize on your screen here. We broke out of this trend line to the upside, and yes, we could be back testing right now. Although I don't think that that's what's going on. I think we're going to be seeing lower prices than Apple. It's possible if the market itself gaps up tomorrow, of course Apple would be included in that. Another thing that I kind of noticed is this for the bulls. We saw some price level come down here. We saw it pull back up, and then we saw it peak down, making a lower low, and then pull back up. It is possible if I did a little bit of symmetry here and I went to this point right here, and I'm not speculating that that's going to be the low, but just visualize that on your screen. So it would kind of align with this low over here, and I'm going to draw it on the screen here. It kind of chops right through here. And so what we saw is almost like a head and shoulders pattern. This, of course, is for the bulls. If we do see this being a head and shoulders pattern, the way that it would be broken is the neckline. So if I kind of drew in a neckline in here, wherever it would go, I don't know if it's at an angle like this, it wouldn't go straight across. It'd kind of be at an angle here. The way we want to see this play out is if we can get back above this price area around 115.99, if we can get above that, then I would start to consider doing a measured move from the head part to the neckline, and then you could do the same thing. You could go from the neckline up to here, which would, and I don't mean to draw 75 lines on the screen, but that would put us up in this price level up here. But of course, it's speculation. I would consider taking this trade if we get back up here above 116.52, somewhere in that area, 115 or 116.20, call it. If we get above that and start making higher highs, higher lows, that would be a good time to enter in long in Apple. Let's go to Amazon. And so Amazon, we definitely see a lot more relative weakness in Amazon. We do see a little bit of selling off here. We had a reversal, this last couple weeks. The trend is definitely changing. In fact, I would say the trend has changed. Extremely bearish close on the day. So as far as the Qs pulling the S&P 500, we're talking about the FANG stocks have a weighting of about 25% in S&P 500 or in the spider. So that's something to watch and something to look for. The Qs have roughly, I believe the FANG stocks have about a 40% weighting in the Qs. So definitely something to keep an eye on. If you want to see where this market is going, we could possibly look at Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, Netflix, Google. We can kind of look at these things and see where they're going. To me, it looks like lower prices in Amazon. I don't want to speculate where that would be. We could do this. We could draw a trend line. We could do one of these things, just pull a chart like this. We could say, since we're cutting out these lows here, you could find, so this is kind of where it was at. We could pull from down here straight across, and I'll give you an actual price of that. The price is $2,888 is a support area. If we get below that, we're looking at much lower prices. In fact, it'd be around 26.29, and that would in line with this 200 period moving average, which we haven't been back to in quite a while. So I would expect a reaction there. Okay, I'm gonna do my best to keep this short. So I'm gonna go let's go over to TLT. I did see a reaction in TLT today. I don't know. I can't tell if it's a shakeout or if it's a shakeout or possibly going to start selling off here. I can't really tell. It wasn't exactly the most you know, it definitely wasn't a bullish close. I am long TLT right now, so it was a little bit concerning. However, I do see if we did this, let me zoom in on just this area right here. I want you guys to see the prices here. I don't want you guys to have to be squinting on this. Okay, so as we see kind of the same thing, we have a support level coming across these candles, and I understand the price is going through the candles, but same thing, where almost like the Apple scenario where we see like a inverse head and shoulders here. Here's the shoulder, here's the head, and then this price action could possibly be the shoulder. And again, this would only play out if price can get above this area. So I wouldn't say this is exactly the most bullish pattern that we see. However, I just want to note we do have a low, a higher low, and now a higher low. What would make this third one an absolute higher low is if we can make higher prices, and if we can get back above these moving averages, and I'll give you the price, 164, around 164.70 or 164.50. If we can get going here and get back above that, I would expect much higher prices. In fact, I believe that we'd be taking out the high over here, the reversal candle over here, back on 9/3, September 3rd. So keep an eye on that. The bond market is important. We're not gonna one day we'll do a video on just the bond market, but keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on these yields. Keep an eye on definitely the FANG stocks, and also keep an eye on where we rotated to. We rotated into the banking sector and into the financials, into the transports. One thing to keep in mind with the banking sector is that it has shown, same with the airlines, the banking sector has shown extremely, well, I don't want to say extremely, relative weakness compared to the broad market, the rest of the broad market. That's something to note. But even when we see these little spikes here, you see what happens following this. Every time you get a little spike here, they just kind of sell it off. Every little rally that we get in the banking sector, they sell it off. And I don't know, I think that there's going to be some banking stress tests coming up here. That's something to definitely keep an eye on. Okay, so I told you I'd make this video short, and that's what we'll do. Feel free to subscribe if you're new. Hit the like button if you gain value out of this video. And then go ahead and hit the bell notification so when we go live on Sunday, you guys won't miss a thing. It's at Sunday, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we will see you in the next video. Thank you.